call this City Council meeting to order. And at this time, if I can call on Councillor Beauregard to give our land acknowledgement.
Niagara region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Port Colborne stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Councillor. Just a reminder, please turn your phones and devices off. And at this time, I really want to give a huge welcome to our Mackay Choir, who's going to do O Canada for us, and then they're going to go into some Christmas tunes. So at this time, for those that can stand, please rise, and we'll hear O Canada.
See
So the band will be here all week. Make sure you tip your waiters and waitresses. It's fantastic, guys. We really appreciate it. Let's give them one more hand for the McKay School Choir. Yeah, I'll just keep singing all night. That's phenomenal. Oh yeah, we'll let you guys clean up and then we can, yeah, lots of time. Okay. What we're going to do, because we've gone a little out of kilter, is I'm going to do the adoption of the agenda, then we'll go to our Christmas card presentations. So at this time, if I can get councillors Beauregard and Aquilina to move the agenda with the following changes. Item 8.6 and item 20.1, which is the bylaw that goes with 8.6, has been withdrawn by staff. And item 9.4 has been withdrawn by staff. So based on that, any questions with regards to the agenda? Noting the changes that we've done. All those in favor? That's carried. On to our next Christmas theme this evening. First of all, we'd like to congratulate our winning artists for the 2023 Mayor's Christmas Card Art Contest, and we welcome all of you and your families here this evening. I was so pleased to have you with us at the parade float last weekend, handing out candy with myself, Mrs. Mayor, and Councillors Aquilina, Bagu, and Hoyle. It's one of the best parades we've had in a long time, and it gets better every year. And this year we had 65 floats, and the weather was on our side. No rain at all, which was great. Tonight, Council and I will present you with the enlarged posters of your art, which were the main feature on our parade float. Thanks to all of you and to Dave Zabo from Public Works for decorating the float. And our float was chosen for a People's Choice Award. So well done, guys. Appreciate that. We're also going to present you with original art, with the card it inspired, in a frame with an official city seal and a plaque with your name, the same kind of plaque with all your names here in the council chamber. There are some blank cards and envelopes for you to share with family and friends. And we have a little Port Colborne bag of Port Colborne branded goodies for you as our gift and congratulations. So this time I'm going to call everybody up, and when I call your name, as I call your name, your cards, which hopefully you remember which one you did, you'll start over on the far side and we'll come back here. Then we'll do some photos with families of the group. Then you can take your big card. We've got our plaques and our goodie bags right here. So we'll load you up for the ride home. So our first one up is Violet King. Violet, come on up. Oh, you can come over here. So if you want to go on this side. So Violet is a grade 8 student at St. Patrick's School, and it's not easy to choose my favorite artwork from more than 300 designs, all laid out on the board table, which is in the back. So you can picture that table. It was packed, plus a little extra area. I never see the names because they are written on the back before we actually break it down to our finals. The mayor and his special helper that day, one of the Santa's elves, that helped me pick the cards. We do not see the names. We don't see the schools. We pick our best and we go from there. And I chose yours because I like the composition, the colors, and that you combined a terrific drawing of Bridge 21 with the magical presence of Santa Claus in front of a December moon. So Violet, congratulations, and I hope you'll place your weatherproof poster right outside your home so all can enjoy your wonderful work. So this is what it looks like, and there's our plaque. So we'll give you that if you want to go over to yours over there. Yeah, you can stand in front of it. Yeah. Next we have Aubrey Koros. Aubrey is a grade 6 student at St. John Bosco. Aubrey's art also included Santa and his magical reindeer over the Harbour Master House in West Street under a bright blue sky. Somehow I've chosen your artwork before without knowing it was you. That is true. We do get many winners sometimes. How many times has it been, Aubrey? 2, 3? 3. 3 times. There you go. That's amazing to choose work by the same person from over 300 submissions. Congratulations. And we are sorry that you were sick and missed the parade. So, but this is Aubrey's. Next we have Emily Duquette. Thanks. Themed, just like the mayor with his tie. Nice sweater. Emily's a grade 5 student at St. Therese. She and her mom Alicia joined us on the parade float and even brought candy and helped us hand it out to hundreds of people. Actually, I think it was thousands of people along the parade route. Emily's art featured H.H. Noel Lakeview Park with great attention to detail, including the hand of the Grinch placing a bright red ball on a giant Christmas tree. Congratulations, Emily, and thank you. Big smile.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, you can go stand by your there. Next, we have Scarlett Walker. How are you? Scarlett is a grade 3 student at St. John Bosco. Scarlett's big sister Natalie is a past winner of the Mayor's Christmas Card Contest. She encouraged Scarlett to participate this year, and her art was chosen. Pretty cool, 2 from 1 family. Scarlett's art has many fine festival details: Santa and his sleigh, Bridge 21, a tree with gifts, a string of lights, and a Merry Christmas message to everyone, featuring traditional Christmas tree ornaments of many shapes and sizes and colors. What really stood out to me was that she presented Port Colborne so big and clear in red and green. Scarlett, congratulations. Thank you to you and your sister and your dad for helping us pass out candy to the crowds. Big smile. Okay, you can stand by yours just over here. Miles Price. Another cool Christmas sweater. Trees on it, just like the mirror. Tree there too. How you doing? Good. Miles is grade 3 at St. Therese, and you were here last year too, right? As a grade 2 student. That's pretty cool, man. Congratulations. There must be something about your drawings and Christmas spirit which draws me close to your work. I like all the details in your art, especially your snowflakes. I'm glad you're feeling better, because again, we had a few people sick last week, and it was too bad that you couldn't join us on the float. I think you missed a lot, but that's okay. It's pretty cool, eh? All right, let's give Gail a big smile.
Look right up here, Miles. Just do one more. Thank you.
Okay, you can stand by yours. And our 6th student, Quinn Runge Rustin. How's Quinn? You good?
Yep.
Good stuff. Quinn is a grade 8 student at École Saint-Joseph. It is his first time participating in the Christmas card contest. I was impressed with the composition of his art, looking through a window out at the canal with Bridge 21, our famous landmark, from the warmth of a fireplace inside and a cat curled up under a decorated tree. You did a really great job on this, Quinn, believe me. And you and your friend Milan did a terrific job on the parade float. So these 2 guys took it upon themselves to help Gail on the float reload all the bags and everything that the rest of us were handing out. We had these big bins, and they were just flying that night getting everything done. So for you and Milan, thank you. We really appreciate that. So all the students did a great job, and thank you so much. But Milan, let's get a picture.
Quinn.
Or sorry, Quinn, I apologize. Where's Milan? Should have brought him tonight. Thanks. Thanks, Quinn. We'll go over here. So again, to all the students, great job again this year. Thank you very much to all of you and your teachers, principals, school secretaries for helping us put this together. It's not easy because we got to do this like as they come back to school. So the parents are still cutting the grass, they still playing soccer, baseball, all that stuff. No, who's thinking about Christmas in September? But they do. They put it together. This is one of our favorite annual programs, and we hope all the schools and all the students will participate again next year. So if we're going to go ahead here to the front, we'll do a group photo. Okay, back in action. Again, phenomenal job. Just as I said up there, please, all the schools, if you're, teachers that are watching, family watching, make sure your school here in Port Colborne is involved next year if they weren't this year. We had a couple that weren't, but the majority are, and phenomenal art. As I said, it was over 300 pieces of artwork, Council, that came in. So, phenomenal job. We had a great time on the parade route. This time, disclosures of interest. We have one disclosure of interest so far. Councillor Beauregard has declared a conflict of interest on item 8.2. Anything further? Okay. Approval of the minutes. We have items 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, and 7.7. If I could have Councillors Bodner and Hoyle, we'll move the minutes in block. Questions to any set of minutes, Council? All in favor? That's carried. At this time, we have items 8.1, 8.3, 8.4, and 9.2 pulled for separate discussion. Are there any other items? So on the remainder of the items, we'll do this separately. I'll do item 8.2 first. Item 8.2, if I could have Councillors Danch and Elliott move 8.2, noting Councillor Beauregard's conflict. All those in favor? That's carried. If I could have Councillors Bruno and Baggio move the remainder of the items that weren't pulled. All those in favor? It's carried. They score? Oh, it sounds like a crowd. I was going to say, where's Carol? There she is. We've gone through 10.1, Council. Our next is, we do have a presentation from Carol Nagy, Executive Director at Hospice Niagara. Update on the hospice palliative care. Carol, welcome.
Thank you.
And just press the red button on the speaker there, please.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. What a great night to come to council to see the community and such a young group involved and engaged. That's wonderful. So I just want to provide you some updates. Port Colborne has been a great partner in building the hospices that will expand care across the region. Next slide, please. So we have the Welland build, which is named after Walker Environment, provided a wonderful naming donation to us. It is on the property of Foyer Richelieu, which is a long-term care home in Welland. Here's the outside of the building, and it's actually 30% complete now. So we're looking to winterize it and get inside. It will have 10 beds. It'll be a beautiful site with big rooms. It'll have patios that the beds can go out of, family rooms, fireplaces in every room, be a really home setting. So we're really proud of that. Expected to open in the summer of 2025, so not far off. And we are also on target for becoming a French service provider according to the legislation when this opens, so that we can provide all the services in French as well to the community. Next slide, please. In Fort Erie, the Wilson family stepped forward and were the naming family for this site. It again will be 10 beds. It's in its final design stage, and we're hoping to get the shovel in the ground shortly so that we can continue to control the costs of construction, and projected opening in 2026. And at this site, we're building it with the Indigenous spiritual needs in mind for the Fort Erie community, but also working with the Indigenous communities means that we'll meet the spiritual needs of everybody across the region at this site. These beds, of course, along with our 10 beds that exist in St. Catharines, are regional hospice beds. They're open for everyone. So across the region, you're driving no more than 30 minutes at the very most, and that's way far up in Wainfleet, where I am, to get to your local hospice bed, so we're happy with that. Next slide, please. I'm sure many people know that we provide this hospice service, but I also want to remind everyone that we help people to live at home, to live well with a long-term illness, to make sure that pain is managed and people are doing what they want to do in their own home with support. We literally go in with home and community support services and wrap ourselves around that family and their needs. We send in nurse practitioners, counselors, volunteers to help that family so that person can stay at home as long as possible or even pass away at home. We also have our grief and bereavement programs for kids as young as 5 who have lost somebody significant in their life, all the way through to adults. With kids, we even start with grieving the loss of their first pet, because often that's the first time that kids experience those emotions, and we want to build some resiliency because we continue to face losses throughout our life. Those programs run in a variety of different ways. They're in person, they're in groups, they're individuals, they're online. There's a crisis line that we collaborate with another hospice provider so that we're available to kids and youth, as well as one-day camp programs. That's one of our fastest growing programs, and we're hoping that the province soon begins to fund it because it's so important that we keep these services in our community. And then finally, our caregiver program, which is also growing. We know that if we help to keep caregivers who are providing that loving care to the person in their own home or even a neighbor going in to provide care, if we can give you the information you need as a caregiver and keep you healthy and coping well, that the person that you're caring for is also well cared for and likely to stay home longer. And we know through research they're less likely to yo-yo in and out of the emergency department, which is what we would want. So those programs will also be expanded into every part of the region as we expand the hospice beds. Next slide. Here's again a list of our partners, and I know the town of Fort Erie has sent a letter to all municipalities asking them to join the list, so we hope that they do, along with Port Colborne. Next slide, please. All of our services will expand. We're looking at over 900 people being served through the hospice beds when those are open. Close to 400 people will be served in their own homes, and 800 people in bereavement care. More people in bereavement care will get our services. All of this is offered at no charge. Next slide, please. And we do that because we have a robust volunteer workforce with us. We have over 350 volunteers right now working in the Stabler Center and in the community to provide these services and support all of what we have to do at hospice, including in our administration and back end. We're looking for 700 more volunteers, 350 per new site, so that we can continue this model of care because we are not fully funded from the ministry. Next slide, please. We're also a good corporate partner. We'll add 60 new healthcare jobs, and these are specialized care providers in end-of-life and palliative care across the region. Very few of our staff are actually full-time. They're often part-time or casual and are working in other sites like the hospital and long-term care. And so this gives those sites this specialty with our nurses and PSWs on site. And also, we are a good economic partner, and we predict that we will be adding $1 million to the local economy every year once we open the 2 new hospices. Next slide, please. Our campaigns are going well. We had set pre-pandemic the public campaign to be $18 million. I kept it at that amount, and we looked for other ways through grants and our own funding in order to keep that community target where it is. We're 79% there, which is great. With that extra money, we're actually 91% to target. So we're hoping that we can keep to those schedules and get those places open as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So we all experience death, dying, and bereavement many times through our life. It touches us, and supporting people to live well to their last breath is really a measure of our humanity. And I thank you again for being such a great municipal partner and getting these beds up and open and operating for the community. Thank you.
Carol, thank you. And when I first became mayor, I was able to tour with you your St. Catharines site before these sites even had a shovel in the ground. So you told me about these projects, and that's where we brought it back here to this council. Specifically, our give went towards the Fort Erie build, which is phenomenal. But having not just only St. Catharines anymore, but with Welland and Fort Erie coming on board, it just shows the importance of hospice to all of us across all of Niagara. So we appreciate everything you've done and for being a great partner of ours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Carol. Great presentation. I had the pleasure of filling in for the mayor when you launched the Fort Erie one at the Buffalo Canoe Club, and I was really impressed with the enthusiasm and I think the real cross-section of people who attended at that opening. And I was wondering when I saw the financials there, like for, you know how you have hospital foundations that grow and often you're paying for equipment because the ministry doesn't fund that. In the world of hospice, like the capital to build these buildings, is it like a split with the ministry, or is it that the community contributions and that do the capital?
So with the ministry, there is a policy, and it's the provincial ministry, and they provide for 10 beds, $2.5 million towards the build, and then the rest of the money is up to the organization and to the community to fund. And right now, these builds are topping, to get them open, $12 million each. So it's a lofty goal. So hopefully the ministry takes a look at that. When we started these projects, each site was $8.5 million, but what's happened through the pandemic and through construction costs increase, supply and demand challenges, the costs just continue to escalate.
So along the way, once you're open, there's equipment, is that ministry funded, or do you need volunteer contributions to operate?
So once we're open, we don't really need a lot of equipment like a hospital. We need some personal equipment, but the ministry provides us approximately 60% funding, and that's based on a new formula for our staffing only. So all of the other costs, food, hydro, keeping the building in good stead, all of that we have to fundraise. So for example, this year at the Stabler Center, we're having to raise just over $2 million in order to continue to operate our services. Hence why we use this volunteer workforce, and they become so critical to us being able to continue to operate.
Yeah, that's quite an ongoing task, and I think, not only is it the kind of care that's less sterile, like a hospital and institutional, but it takes a big load off the healthcare system.
It absolutely
all
does.
Those people in those beds in years gone by would be cared for right till they pass in a hospital bed, and so yeah, it's unfortunate there's not more, at least ongoing operating coming from the government, because I think it serves a purpose. I guess with that in mind, the last question I'll have is the 30 beds, is there 10 in St. Catharines as well?
Yes.
So will 30 meet the need based on current trends?
Yeah, I don't think 30 is going to meet the need. Now I think we have these builds well underhand, and the board of directors has said, okay, let's go out and see where there might be some other partnerships through municipalities and availability of different kinds of options that we can look at how we can continue to spread this care across the region. If it was up to us and we had the means, we'd put a hospice in every single community. But I don't know that that's possible, but we certainly are looking to what is next in growth and development.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Councillor. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Baggett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your presentation. I did spend about 20 minutes on your website a few days ago looking up and getting a better understanding of Hospice Niagara. And I have to say I'm very impressed, and especially when they're living at home support. I know a lot of people, they don't want to leave their houses, they don't want to go to the hospital, they'd rather spend as much time as they can at their own house, and I'm really glad to see that and expanding that also. And one question I do have, the 10 beds you have now and the 20 more you're getting, is it a referral for somebody to get in there, or is it, how does somebody actually get in to get your service?
I wish I had a simple answer for you. But healthcare can be complex. So right now, to have a referral, people should go to their family doctor. Or if you have in-home services and you have home and community care or a care coordinator, or if you're in the hospital, you ask a discharge planner or a care coordinator or a doctor in the hospital to refer you to hospice. All of those people will know how to do a referral form and send that into hospice. However, if anybody is confused about any of that, I really encourage them just to call us, and we have a position, a transition coordinator, that can walk anybody through the process and help them along the way.
To you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. That's a great reply and answered all my questions. My one question was your long-term planning. But I don't know other parts of the province, whether they have like Kitchener-Waterloo area or whatever. I don't know how many they have there, like per population. I don't think there is a magic number, though, is there?
The Auditor General did a report in 2016 that said, between 7 and 10 beds per 100,000. When we build our beds, will be at 6. So we still have a little ways to go, but there is no set amount per se.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Any further questions? Perfect. Carol, again, thank you. We look forward to further discussions that may lead to partnerships in the future.
Great, thank you.
You've been great to work with, and I think even the two councillors tonight, what they said is the feelings of all 9 that sit up here. So we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you as well.
And hope to see you back soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. On to the mayor's report. So Christmas is 13 days away. Feels like we just wrapped up Canal Days, and here we are wrapping gifts for family and friends. On behalf of council, thank you to all 65 participants in our annual lighted parade. I think it was one of the best parades we've had so far. The parade just gets better every year, and we thank our special events team and our volunteers, Luke and Olga on our special events team, for their dedicated efforts just to keep growing this nighttime parade. So many groups and organizations and businesses took part. It's a true community event where we all celebrate community spirit. And we congratulate Maple Meadows Farm for the winning float. They were voted the best float. They were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The day after the parade, on the first Sunday in December, we celebrated another Port Colborne tradition, the Grand Old Christmas Festival. Mrs. Mayor and I volunteered at the King Street Gate for a couple of hours to welcome more than 1,000 people to the museum grounds between noon and 4. People young and young at heart enjoyed so many old-fashioned traditional activities, such as wreath making, candle dipping, chestnut roasting, and sitting with Santa by an open fire in the old schoolhouse. The museum auxiliary ladies were run off their feet serving Christmas pudding and sauce and arabellas. It was brilliant and a festive day filled with spirit of the season. Thank you to Stephanie Powell-Baswick and her team. She's the director of the Museum, Culture and Heritage, and her staff and volunteers. They do amazing work, and they just make Port Colborne proud of what went on at the museum. The countdown to Christmas continues over at Roselawn, with a new window revealed each evening, like an advent calendar. The first lighted silhouette was revealed on December the 1st. Tonight is the 12th night, and the 12th silhouette will appear in one of the 25 windows until Christmas Day. We've seen candles, angels, and elves. Each day a story is shared on social media to explain the symbol and the significance of the cutout. We've never done anything like this before. Be sure to take a drive over some evening and see if you can identify all the images in the countdown to Christmas. Funding for the installation, which was created by Miles Brandt and Tara Marini, was supported by the Niagara Peninsula Aboriginal Area Management Board for Indigenous Youth Employment and Training. We give them a big shout out and a big thank you for all they've done for us. My wife and I will be with a team of volunteers on December the 25th, preparing and serving the Christmas community dinner. And it's in person this year, guys. It's been on the road for the last few years due to COVID. It'll be served at the Central United Church on Delhi and Catherine Street, starting at 1 p.m. No one needs to be alone at Christmas. Join us for Christmas dinner, and let's celebrate our many blessings together. On behalf of council, thank you to all our city staff for another year of meeting challenges. We celebrate your successes. We know you care about your work for our city as much as we do. We see you striving to deliver exceptional small town experiences in a big way. It matters, and you all matter, and we thank you. I wish everyone a safe and happy Christmas. Hope you've all shopped locally, that you've supported the businesses and restaurants which support all of us. Stay safe, slow down, don't drink and drive, and most of all, be kind to each other. So Merry Christmas and a joyous New Year. City Hall will be closed the week between December the 25th to the day after New Year's. That's January the 2nd. There will be staff on call for emergencies. Tonight marks our last council meeting of 2023. We've done some great work around this table, my fellow councillors. We have a lot more to do in the next 3 years before our term of council comes to an end. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll meet back here for our next council meeting on Tuesday, January 23rd at 6:30. We'd sure like to see residents here with us on the 3rd floor of City Hall. Consider that a New Year's resolution to everyone to have more citizens attend our council meetings. Kind of like tonight. Maybe we need to bring out the band every week. With that, Councillor Davies is not with us this evening, so does anybody have any questions with regards to my report or the regional council? Seeing none, perfect. Staff comments. Madam Clerk, anything? Steve?
Yes.
Mr. Schapowski.
Good evening. So we're happy to say that our sanitary rehabilitation program is well underway, and we wanted to thank all of our councillors for visiting the work sites. We know we were able to gain, we're hoping you were able to gain some valuable insights to the work that was being completed to combat the city's inflow and infiltration issues. We're also happy to say that the tender for the 2024 sewer rehabilitation program is going to be released next week, so that'll ensure that we get a quick start for 2024. Last meeting, I also mentioned that Victoria Park Playground on Welland Street was nearing completion the first half of December, and the final saw just went down yesterday, so it looks great, and we would just encourage all the public to go out there and get some use out of the playground. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Bowles, anything this evening?
Thank you. Just a quick update, and I think many people might have seen it already on social media, but at the arena over the holiday break at the Valley Health and Wellness Center, we do have a special rate to invite family and friends to come out and use the ice. A bit of a pilot project this year, but the goal is to try to activate and get people out. Traditionally, it's a lot of empty ice during the week of Christmas, but we know families are looking for something to do, and we're offering the ice at the rate of the, I think it's about $100 rate, put it that way, if you take a look online. So please register, come on out, and enjoy the rink.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Mr. Long? Nothing to see. Thank you. Mr. CAO?
Yes, through your worship to council, 2 items that are reports back from the last council meeting where I didn't have answers and promised that I'd report them. One is the question was raised about how many cemeteries the city operates, including abandoned cemeteries. There are 6 cemeteries that are under municipal control, city control, one of which is still having interments or is considered an active cemetery. The rest are inactive, but through regulatory requirements, the city has had to take them on, and council is aware of another one that will be coming to the municipal control in the next little while. So I guess that will bring the total number up to 7. The second item is from Councillor Bodner. He asked about community safety zones. Some of my staff sent an email right away that night, but for viewers who might be tuning back in because I promised the answer, I'll read this from a guide to the community safety zones that the province publishes. So pardon my looking away when I read community safety zone. Oh, sorry. The question was, must there be a school? And the answer is, it's not that there must be, but there usually is. And I'll read this wording. Community safety zones are sections of roadway where public safety is of special concern. Community safety zones may include roadways near schools, daycare centers, playgrounds, parks, hospitals, senior citizen residents, and may also be used for collision-prone areas within a community. And I'll go on to say that the Council of municipality that has jurisdiction over a road can declare an area to be a community safety zone. And so the region has declared the first community safety zone in Port Colborne, which is on Kalali, as was mentioned, I think, by Councillor Baggio during the meeting, from King Street to West Side Road. So that entire span is a community safety zone, which means for council and for our residents, it could be a part of the region's Vision Zero project, which includes speed enforcement cameras and red light cameras. Of course, there's only 2 stoplights in that area that I can, all 3, I guess, Steel, Elm, and King would be potential. They're not there now. They are moving from place to place. They could be there in the future if the region decides that is a regional road and under regional control. It also means that fines are doubled in that area for moving violations. So that's the update on community safety zones.
Thank you. Chief Lawson online? Does the chief have anything for tonight?
Not tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, great. Thanks, Chief. Just something further, I do thank Deputy Mayor Beauregard for taking the helm a few weeks ago when I was away. Just want to give you a quick update on this. I was in Ottawa for 3 days. I was able to meet the Minister of Transport along with MP Badaway, who is the Parliamentary Secretary to that minister, along with his 2 most senior staff. Originally, we were given 15 minutes with him. We ended up almost an hour. So we brought forward a number of items that I took from staff and from comments made at the dais here over the last little while. We talked about the canal. We talked about infrastructure within the municipality. We just talked about transport in general. We talked about Port Colborne being a port, being a harbor, and what the ministry can do for the municipality. And we also talked about lands that have been declared, and this goes back to 2019, that were declared on their divestiture list. And the majority of properties that we spoke to the minister about are properties that, quite frankly, don't have anything to do with Ministry of Transport area, which is the St. Lawrence Seaway Authority. These are vacant lots, many of them, that are in neighborhoods where we could turn them into housing. That was one question that he asked. How many houses can we put on them? And I said, well, depending on the size, but some can be single family or duplex type properties. Others can be a lot larger than that based on the size that we've been told. And some of those are actually roads that we operate, one being Mellenby Avenue, where we own all the land around it, and stuck in the middle is a piece that they own. So it's no good to them. It's never going to be used for, widening the canal or anything like that. So that we're trying to get sped up along with other things that we're looking for on the commercial industrial side. We discussed a number of properties that are right next to the canal that Ministry of Transport has control over, and how we would like to see those properties, and that came out of economic development in Gary Long's office. I also met with the Transportation Committee that consists of all parties, so Bloc Québécois, New Democrats, Liberals, and Conservatives, as well as many, we had 3 senators at that meeting, and it was all marine style industry. I was there on behalf of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative on the blue economy based on marine and getting ships and anything to do with water on the Great Lakes into being more what we call blue. So the better fuel usage by ships and getting less trucks on the road and things like that is really what we talked about. We also had Stephen Burnett. Stephen's been here before, both virtually and in person, and Stephen runs the Great Lakes Cruising Association, and he gave a great overview on cruising across the Great Lakes and talked about some hurdles that we have both on the Canadian and US side, which our group that we belong to, and I do serve as the Ontario Caucus Chair for Great Lakes St. Lawrence City Initiative. For those that don't know it, it's Quebec and Ontario, which we front all but one Great Lake and the St. Lawrence River, and 8 US states. So it's a binational organization of mayors and councillors. We also are continually dealing with the provincial and Canadian governments, province of Ontario, province of Quebec, and our federal government. as well as we work with our counterparts in the U.S., talking to senators, congressmen, state government and governors with regards to what's going on within the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River, and to make that a healthier, full, wholesome body of water. So there's lots that we're doing. There's lots that we're trying to get our federal government to partner with the U.S. federal government, specifically the Army Corps of Engineers, on a great big study that they're doing. So instead of reinventing the wheel on our side, because it's not like land where you can put a wall up and that's the line between two countries. The water meets the water, guys. Their water is ours is theirs. What's going on in their shoreline is exactly that's going on in our shoreline. So our common issues are the same across the Great Lakes. So we worked really hard with that, and we brought that up with the minister. But specifically having that committee there, listening to the marine industry, listening to us, listening to the Cruising Association, listening to port authorities from Newfoundland to BC and in between was a lot of good information. I learned a lot, but I'll tell you that committee learned a lot what's going on in the Great Lakes, and as well as other parts of Canada. I also met with they were hosting their annual general meeting in Ottawa this year as the Association of Ports of Canada, again, coast to coast to coast, and Ontario now with the marine initiative that the provincial government put together recently was a really big topic with regards to what's going on. So I was able to meet with them at a function they hosted on the Wednesday evening. Again, I met a number of ministers, other government MPs, a number of senators that were there. It was quite amazing from the coast to coast they were from. We had one senator from out east, one senator from out west, and really getting into discussions on how our ports work in the Great Lakes and how obviously their ocean ports work where they are. And they were quite interested in what was going on here. Just to give you a little tidbit of information, Ian Hamilton of the Hamilton-Oshawa Port Authority was elected chair of that group. So that's a good ally in our corner of the woods here in Niagara with having Ian as chair of that committee. Because you got to remember, guys, we own our own port here. The city owns the port. Seaway runs the canal. We own the port. So we are port operators. So we are, we've got good allies at that table with regards to what's going on there. So all in all, it was a great 3 days. Got to see some people up in Ottawa that I haven't seen in a while, and we just keep giving them the message what's going on in Port Colborne and what we'd like to see change. So again, Councillor, thank you for taking the helm that week. I heard they didn't give you too much of a hard time. Heard you got it done pretty quick. Yeah, I know, eh? Councillor's remarks. I'm going to start on my right. Councillor Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one item for staff for Director Shapowski. Early on in my when we started on council, I had brought forward about the intersection at Empire and Highway 3, and on the weekend, I believe, the weekend, there was another accident. So I just wanted to keep that on the radar for you going forward.
Steve or Joe?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have an update, but we did reach out to the MTO. I know that when exiting, is that where Empire turns on to Highway 3 and then you have to turn left onto Wilhelm? Okay, so we did look at that, and there you can turn left and right from the stop sign as well. So if you were to make the left-hand turn, you may want to use the straight Empire Road right to the stop sign, then turn right, which gives you a little bit more room. So I think that was taken into consideration when adding the on-ramp, but we are still waiting for something from the MTO to confirm that.
Joe, just further to that, only because we're looking at Barrick and Highway 58, some numbers up there. The NRP was able to give us their numbers, but because it's not their jurisdiction, they passed us to the OPP, who passed us to the ministry. So did you ask for the accident count at that intersection over the last 5 years. Can we, if you haven't, can we ask for that? Because it, being the OPP, it'll have to go through the MTO. They keep those numbers for them. So if we could just ask for that, just so it gives some context to councillors here on the activities that go on in that intersection.
Yes, will do.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Borgard? Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Oh, I apologize.
That's
Back
okay.
to Councillor Aquilina.
That's okay. The other thing was Sharkston Community Center had their annual Christmas potluck that Councillor Bodner and I attended, and it was well received. And the only other thing I wanted to do was to tag on to your holiday wishes to the residents and to staff, and to wish all of my fellow councillors some nice downtime because it's been a busy year. That's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Baguio.
Nothing this week, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Just to your mayor's report on your trip to Ottawa and talking to them. One of the things in talking to staff on various things that end up involving the Seaway, one of the comments I hear, though, also isn't just the jurisdictional or how to release those lands, which is very important. It's having either a point person or having that funnel down. If I could use the example, the lot on Mellenby, the minister or his assistants might say, release that land, sell it. But then it goes down to somebody who, whether they're in Cornwall or whether they're in Thorold, right, who, for whatever reason, may have this much on their plate. And so I'm concerned about the mechanics after the minister says yes. And so I don't know if that was discussed, that things get prioritized. And I'm sure internally at the Seaway, they have other communities and other things going on. How do we unlock that portion? And did that come up?
Certainly. And that was a comment the minister made to his 2 staff members. How quick can we do this? So I think it can go faster than the lands that actually will tie into the Seaway. So vacant land next to our property at Second Concession and Progress Drive, those lands there that the transport can, they're going to want those to go into the hands of commercial, industrial, marine related type companies because it's on the canal. But the 9 properties have nothing to do with the canal. So they can, the comment coming back was it probably should be a lot easier. So they are working on that with us. So Gary's department is the lead on this, and also working closely with MP Badaway on it. I mean, and again, the lucky thing for us with having Vance there now with his parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Transport ties so well into the city of Port Colborne.
Yeah.
So having them there as that champion of our municipality to get those lands into us. So we will keep going. We sent, once I got back, we did send a follow-up letter to the minister and his staff along with the MP Badaway. Kind of outlining those things so that, you know, once Christmas holidays are over, I think they're breaking as of today or tomorrow, that we will follow up through Gary's department with his senior staff so that we keep pushing them, saying, look, get this stuff going. So I think it's the first time in the last, it's my 3rd Minister of Transport since taking this job. Mm-hmm. He's the first one that really looked at his staff and said, why is this taking so long? Where the others always said, we'll look into it. So we've got him over the next hurdle, and he was very sincere about that. He wants to see it done. And again, I'll bring back to the comment where, can we build houses on it? Because that is the mantra of this government. And I said, basically, not all 9 because some are roads, but basically those that can, we will move forward to help further more housing within the city, whether it's attainable or affordable style housing. Mm-hmm. We'll work with groups, whatever we have to do, for those lots that can be used for that. Because some are small that you're only going to put maybe a duplex on, for sure a single family, but you might get a duplex. So it's not high density homes, where there's a few lots that we might be able to get more than 2, 3, 4 units on. So.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
For staff, I'm just wondering through you to Steve, I didn't get a chance to touch base with you on this, but I brought up before on the island across from basically the Port Colborne sign, and that there's still that street light that was taken down in a vehicle accident that hasn't been replaced, and I'm just wondering if you have any or could give me any update on that.
Steve?
Yes, through your worship. So we are constantly on this one. We do have a light pole that's on order, but it just hasn't arrived quite yet. So we are contacting the supplier, and it's just out of our control at this point as to when that comes in. But the contractor that is installing it has obligated themselves to install it as soon as it does come in stock.
Great.
So
Okay.
unfortunately, it's a supply and delay.
And further, this is for you as well, Steve, or your staff. So Oriole Drive, a lot of those homes in Meadow Heights are now taking occupancy. If you drive through there at night or in the daytime, you see cars in the driveways of a lot of those new 17 homes in there. One of the things I know I've struggled with, the neighbors have struggled with, is the one particular contractor there, or developer. The streets are a mess with clay, dirt, grit, and of course, if you look at the height and the pitch to those streets, every time it rains, all that becomes mud. It all drains down Oriole, comes down, and hits the side yards and on to Apollo, sits in front of drains. Not so much now. The contractors, the workers park their cars there. We haven't assumed the subdivision. The problem is we're in a no man's land that the street's a mess. It tracks onto Apollo. We're not sweeping Oriole because it hasn't been turned over to us. Do you have any idea when that's going to happen? Or is there a process in the subdivision agreement that allows us to go in there and clean a street that has impact onto our existing municipal roads?
Through you, your worship. So there is means for the city to go out there and clean the road if we deem it's unfit. So we can go do that. Then we would recharge the developer if that was cost. Our planning department did send me some assumption dates, but I believe they were about a year or two out at least. I don't have them in front of me right now. But what I can do is I can talk to our planning department and the inspector on site so that we can actually just make sure that the road stays free and clear of mud, and we can call the contractor when that does happen.
Just worried if that's an issue that has to be in a subdivision agreement. If it wasn't, we've got more development coming there, and we haven't had a lot of development that was subdivision related. Maybe we need to look at our subdivision agreements and see if we can give them more teeth for things in play. I mean, maybe that's a planning issue, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we, sorry, through your worship, we do have it in there. We have recharged the developer before for this similar issue. Okay. So it's just staying up to date on a more constant basis to be able to make sure the road stays clear, free of that mud.
Great. And one last one.
Well, just before we go on then, so with that, Councillor, if we could just pass that to the CO to get to planning to confirm that that's in there. Obviously, Mr. Shapowski said we've been able to do it in the past, but just to confirm that it stays in our subdivision agreements. The other thing too, Steve, is the fact that let's be a little bit more diligent then. Give them a call. If it's not cleaned by, and we'll allow you guys to set a time or a day, then we're coming in and we're billing you for it. Got to give them a chance to clean something up after a day of trucks coming out, which is fine. We all understand that's what happens when construction happens. It happened when my house was built in 1968, I'm sure, down near Olga Drive and Sugarloaf. But I think direction of this council would be that you stay on top of it, and if we have to go in and clean it, we charge them, but at least give them the opportunity to go in and sweep first. Thanks. Is that all right, Councillor?
Yeah, I appreciate that. The other development that's in there too is they're on top of it. No complaints at the upper level, Dinsmore. Finally, this morning, I know Councillor Beauregard was with me, and I think Councillor Baggio, I just heard it, was involved in having a first-hand look at the lining of wastewater pipes up on Donnelly and Donnelly Crescent. And we learned a lot. Actually, Councillor Beauregard brought this up to me at the time. I thought, what a great idea. And that is, you know, people see 3 trucks, they see all the vests, but they don't really know what's going on. And so when you do a specific project, you usually put signs up and it says that, and of course the project runs a specific duration. This is mobile, right? Here today, gone tomorrow. And I'm just wondering, like, Tommy Flanagan did a great job of, you know, taking care of us and introducing us to GM Blue Plan people and the contractor. But the idea was, could either on the back of his truck, if he's going to be the person doing that, could there be a sign about what we're doing? Like our program, a communications piece that says, you know, this is your dollars at work lining. So people out there get to know that that we are on top of it, work started, and I think that can be nothing but a good thing to have more information out there.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship. So that's it is a great idea. We've actually started mocking up designs for 2024 to have that on a lot of our projects. Just 2023, we didn't have the time to fabricate those, but we are planning to do that with a lot of even our operational programs, just to get the word out there as to what we're doing and why we're doing it, and show people that we are investing in our infrastructure.
Great, thank you. Hopefully something can be done. I thought of on the truck only because, like, it's not a permanent sign, right? And you want to make it easy on a daily basis to move around. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you. Through you to Steve, and I'll take what the CAO is talking about as far as community safety zones go. Still having complaints come from Clarence Street with traffic, and also with it. Community safety zones are at our whim, I would assume. So I guess my thought would be to take a look at St. Pat's and also around the corner on Clarence Street as well. Now, I know it's kind of joined together, but with a little bit of separation on Clarence Street. Steel Street, I know that the crossing guard has faced some near misses in the last couple of years. So that would be a perfect place to have a community safety zone. Also on Clarence Street at St. Pat's, the intersections, I did have a conversation with a neighbor who has cameras outside that said like 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 cars actually stop at the stop signs. And he said, if you want to take a look, I've got the video. I didn't go and watch it, but he said very few people come to a stop. It just roll right through. So it would be interesting if we could have a look at that. I'm not talking about cameras and red light cameras and things like that, but if we could get the message out that that area is being watched and looked at, maybe have a conversation with NRP at the beginning and maybe in the middle of the school year at both locations, because Steel Street is, I think people come to the light and forget that there's a school there when it turns green and takes off. So to have a look at that. And I guess one of my questions, I'm always wondering why speeds on Clarence, and I know that the signs are down because I didn't trigger it today when I went by because I always do to see if it's still on. The west end of it, where it kind of snakes through the subdivision, is it built with a higher volume of traffic in mind? When it was originally constructed, there wasn't any extension onto it. So it was kind of the end of the road and there wasn't much traffic to and fro. Now it seems to be a cut through for some people. There's more people living out the west end of it. There's a heavier traffic route coming through. There's still more build to go. And I just keep wondering, is it built to handle the traffic that is to come and is here now? And I guess with the complaints about speed, is it an option to reduce the speed to 40 through that stretch? Because there seems to be more cars parked on the road as well than there was before. And that seems to be an issue. It's narrowed the lane of travel down. And with a couple of the corners, you can't really see around a corner until you get around the corner. So those are just a couple of things. And just to look at speed mitigation, I think is the big concern for a lot of people, just with the amount of traffic, pedestrians, and parked cars. So taking all that into account, maybe you could have a look at it, especially the community safety zone part of it. So,
Steve?
Yes, through your worship. So we can start off by contacting NRP and seeing if they can do some more enforcement in the area right off the bat. What I would suggest is that we're already analyzing some of the speed data on Clarence Street. So what we could do is we could report back to council with our findings there and some recommendations, whether it's a community safety zone, speed reductions, or the like. Typically when a new development comes online, we would end up having a traffic study done, which would have been done for the Westwood subdivision, and it would take into account what traffic is expected to come in. So it should have been taken into consideration and built accordingly. Yeah, so I would just suggest that we move forward with maybe doing a report back to council to outline the situation as a whole, and that council can have all the facts and we can make some recommendations together, and that might be the best way forward.
Further to that, Good Roads, we saw a road safety expert, actually the last two Good Roads. They were both keynote speakers. Reducing or increasing speeds all depends on the road. Some roads, if they're 50, should be 60, and some roads that are 60 should be 40. It's all based on how the road is, the history of the road as far as accidents and things like that, what's on the road. But if you reduce something to 40, don't expect people to do 40. If it's 50 and they're doing 60 or 70, you can put it to 40, they're going to do 60 or 70. It is the enforcement. So, and the NRP were out there only because I know somebody very close to my family got a ticket not too long ago, so the NRP are out there from time to time. They're not out there all the time, but they're out there from time to time. So one thing I'll talk to Steve about is I think maybe bringing in for an education session for us, a road safety expert. It's pretty neat stuff that we learned at Good Roads. Now, we're not necessarily going to get these two guys because one is out of Minnesota and he's a professor. He was really good. The other guy is from Ontario, though, but we can find somebody that's close that knows what they're talking about. I think it would be good for us to be at an education session with regards to that because they'll give you all the scenarios that we talk about. Because every city talks about the same scenarios that we do. Speeding and traffic safety is a concern across North America. So it is very enlightening, and you learn a lot. And you learn what you should do and shouldn't do, quite honestly. Sometimes we think it's the right thing to do. It can really be the wrong thing to do, make things actually worse. So it's always good to have that. So anyways, thanks for bringing that up.
and now you talked about that. I'd be interested to know if we've got any information and data from Chippewa Road with the lane delineators that we put in. Has that slowed traffic down? And I mean, that's not something that's applicable for every road. But with Clarence, with the corners that are there, it's not a common thing, and it's a lot of parked cars. Would one or two delineators coming through the S bend, kind of showing you where the middle of the road is, would that slow people down? Because now all of a sudden you've got something in the road, right? When I go down Chippewa, it's like, I slow down. I know I can fit between them, but you slow down because you're holding your breath thinking, I don't want to hit it, right? So you're conscious of what you're doing, even though you can go through it every day and there's plenty of room on either side, but because of the visual, you actually slow down. But just to take a look at that, I don't know if it works on Chippewa, if we've actually studied that to see what happens, when they're in place, against when they're not. but even something like that, like down here, just that visual. I know that there's a lot of roads now that put like the hash marks in, and that gets people to slow down because it's a warning of what's to come. And for some reason it works. I don't know what it is. If it's just that it's a visual that people think, uh-oh, something's on the road. I have to slow down. Even something to that effect to get it, because I've lived on Clarence for 15 years, and in the last 5 years, there's a few people that you can hear coming and going. And I wish some of them that the NRP would be around the corner, because there's guys that wind it out from the stop sign by my house coming down to Steel Street that by the time they get past the church, they're clipping along pretty good, and you can hear them winding it up. So whatever you can find out and bring back to us, that'd be great.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Danch?
Yeah, gotta have a few here. So we've got our sidewalk repair done at the old Vimy School. I appreciate that, Steve, and the repair job on the corner of Highland and Fieldin as well. So that's looking good. That large tree that was taken down on Erie Street, the people in the area are happy about that one. It was a big one for sure. And just out on my daily walks there, and we've got a pothole when we come out of the public launch. It's on the right-hand side, kind of where that little round section is, and it doesn't seem to go away. I don't know if it's just a drainage issue or we need to get some asphalt around there, but it's huge. So if you guys could take a look in your travels there, I'd appreciate it if you could, and just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hoyle?
That's the Mayor, Steve. It's a Steve day, I see. Mine's just a couple things. I don't know if you know, or you should know by now, the arena. So you got locker room 6, water problems. That probably should be closed and not used, because the people that do use showers are ones going in there. Your accessible doorways are broken again. I'm only saying that because of there's events coming up, and it's probably going to take you now. Well, I don't know if you'll get it done by New Year's Eve, but there's people having issues using the lower door to get into the arena. There is a few people trying to get in that have motion limitations. Just to correct that if we can. Your monitors on the inside, are they at the front thing? They're still down. And I think that's about all when I went to the arena. And besides that, everyone have a good Christmas, Happy New Year, and maybe I'll see you.
Thank you. Anything to add, Steve, for that? Or you just took notes? Ryan? Yeah?
Just for council on the monitors, a quick update. So IT's been working on them. It seems they're all connected to one central hub, and every time we turn it on, it seems to, I guess for lack of a better words, fry that hub. So we are looking at either we're going to be able to get this fixed in the near term, or we're going to have to come back to council with just some sort of capital ask to actually have that permanently fixed. So it's something that's plagued us, and as staff I'm very thankful that the IT staff has worked so hard to try to figure it out, but it is something that is causing a problem, and I know it's very frustrating for the residents not to have it up.
Thank you. Councillor Bodnar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to pick up on what Councillor Aguilera said about the end of Empire and Highway 3, because a lot of us actually use that on a regular basis, and I don't think the amount of accidents maybe tell the tale. If there was some way to register the near misses, that may tell you a better story. But I'm not really comfortable, and I know we get, Councillor Aguilera and I get comments from people. And every time I'm with my wife and we get to the end of that, she says, when are you going to do something about this? So this is getting important now, okay? So, no, but seriously, I don't know whether we can just sit back and blame no action on the government that owns that. And I know we don't own it, so we're really at a handicap. But if there's some way that we can put some pressure on, and I'm just going to throw this out there because I don't know the answer, but is this a situation where we could put on our new bang the table, for a lack of a better word, on our website and get the residents feel that use that all the time on if they think it's important or you know, because they could tell you some stories on it. But there probably is only 2 scenarios that would even be entertained to fix it. Just get rid of that on. You have to go to the stop sign like Joe was talking about. You put an extra lane at that end because now you'll have room where you don't have the on-ramp, and make people go there. They can still turn right, but now they got to make a decision, and instead of just going on and moving over right away, they're going to have to look and see who's coming and make a decision to get over there. So I don't think it'll ever get attention or anything if we just sit back and say, well, it's not ours. So I don't pretend to know how to do that. You guys maybe know how to do that. So Mr. Mayor, I just ask that, you know, that we give some thought to how we're going to proceed on this, not just maybe it'll happen someday.
CAO?
After your worship to Councillor Bodnar, the idea of using that online forum tool that we've recently launched, we talked about in the last couple of weeks, and already has a few different city projects on it. I can take back to my communication staff and working directly with Public Works, see if that's a good opportunity to gather some public feedback. It might be a way of even tracking anecdotal evidence around near misses and people's past experiences, you know, navigating through that sort of area. You know, even if you're already on the highway and someone's veered in front of you or entered in front of you or so on. So let me take that back. We're obviously very close to the holidays here, but maybe in the new year, at the start of the new year when we get back, Public Works and Communications can speak about this and bring something forward. So I'll take that back.
Thank you very much. And I'd just like to wish my fellow councilors and staff and anybody watching a special holiday season, and hope everyone has a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. On to items requiring separate discussion, 8.1. West Street Hydro Line Project. The recommendation is that Office of the Chief Administrative Officer Report 2023-214 be received. That the Director of Public Works be directed to proceed with the relocation of the West Street Hydro Lines with service drops for streetlights as outlined in option 3. If I could have Councillors Bruno and Elliott move that. I'm going to go to Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Great to see this project is coming. I looked at this and I thought it was very creative, the way we've carved up some other grants that still fit this project. I think it will make a great difference there. I have a couple concerns about, one is the timing, and before I get into the exact detail of it, I happen to be today actually at a establishment on West, and when he brought up the subject to the owner, what was really important to him, he was excited about this being done, but there certainly was remnants of other closures or timing of construction work and how it affected his business, his staffing, and the notice, the communications piece. So when I mentioned that, you know, he was relieved that it was happening after West Street, or sorry, after Canal Days, but he was very concerned that that was a bit wide open. So, you know, for him, you know, after Labor Day is better, after Thanksgiving is great, and in January is best. And so, you know, I think it depends on the type of work and the amount of street carving up to get, if there's any tunneling in that. So I know his idea was to see if there was an opportunity early on to have interested West Street merchants and restaurants to just be able to get a vision of it. Just have some storyboards up, have a meeting. Could they come out, whether it's through the BIA or the West Street merchants? I think they just want to know a little bit more about it and when it's coming. The thing I was concerned about was that, well, let me ask, are the majority of, or are the only street lights needing to be changed those on poles on the side of the promenade? So in one of your pictures there, it shows one, I think it's close to between the core and the corner building there, that's on a wood pole. I know further down everybody talks because it's out, it's not our light, it's not too far from the pilot house. I think it's the Seaways, and it hangs out in an arm that's low, and it's over the parking stall there. So just on street lights, it talks about street drops. It doesn't talk about any new street lights. And so, I mean, I did not look at how many are on wooden poles, but I think the majority are not. So, will there be any street lighting change or effect to those that aren't on the promenade side with the hydro poles?
Mr. Higginbotham?
Yes, I'm gonna actually speak to, through your worship, to Councillor Bruno. I'm gonna speak to your first commentary on businesses on West Street and their involvement in this project. So we have noted in the report that we intend to use Port Colborne's, the city's new public engagement platform, Let's Connect Port Colborne, as a way to introduce this project. And then from there, we would be, with as much notice as possible, populate that page with information on this project, and then through the BIA do some consultation with individual businesses, allow them to understand the timeline and the impacts that potentially could result as this project, so that they can be prepared and they can fully understand that if there may be some impacts, we understand them to be minimal, but there is the potential for impacts to the businesses. And we want them to be aware of that as soon as we as city staff know about it. With respect to new lighting, and I'm going to defer to my colleague Joe Kuller-Surda.
Through your worship, so we're going to take this opportunity to redesign some of the lighting that's in that along West Street. So there will be new street light poles and lighting.
So if I could, Mr. Mayor, so if I could just on that, I think all you fellows in Public Works and Engineering and Operations do a great job on the skill sets that you know. I don't know that you have anybody there that does street lighting design. And so my concern is that we will do the project technically right, but who is the expert on beautification and the right street light? Because this is probably a 30 or 40 year street lighting replacement. And so not only, you know, is the location not where the car door opens with the stall, does the street light have something where you can also go in. I've seen some of them where you can port into that. Is there, you know, a smart trough in the light that allows for something 10 years down the road that none of us know about today? That kind of thing takes, is not just technical expertise. And so, again, I'm sure that the merchants, vendors there would love to be a part of that. And so how do we get the aesthetics right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. What the plan will be is we will be retaining an electrical engineering consultant that does have streetscaping experience as well. Once we retain a consultant, we plan on having a PIC with the BIA. As we progress through the preliminary design, we will definitely include the BIA to have their input on what that will look like.
Thank you. And maybe I'll just be a little more emphatic on Greg's comments about depending on the construction schedule. This is another one of those ones where, was mentioned earlier, we control this and we own the street and we're letting the contract and we're paying for it. So I think they're, you know, probably better for Ward 1 councillors or Councillor Elliott with the chamber and BIAs to comment on this. But I really think they're going to want to be involved, and I really didn't have as great an appreciation for, you know, it's great that we'll put it on the website and through the BIA, but like, you know, the two that I talked to were adamant about, you know, like, hand me something in my door, tell me that it's 3 days from now when it's in front of my store, so I don't bring in, I do half staff. Tell me if it's going to be my block or it's going to be the whole thing. Tell me if it's going to be one way, it'll always be open. Those kind of things. And I don't think you get to that until, like, I think just somebody has to just get out there with some shoe leather and tell people at each storefront if that can happen. And yeah, back to the design. I think it's super important, and sort of this is one of those areas where everything has a budget and all of this is about the technical side, but like, it's our signature street and it needs to be done right. And if right means a little more money, I'd like to hear you come back to us about it, to do it right. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Yeah, through your worship, Councillor Bruno, I think your points are well taken, and just in conversations with staff, I think we would be fully prepared with just on acknowledging the importance of this project, that we would put some boots to the ground and we would actually sort of divide up West Street amongst ourselves, and short of telling the businesses to go visit the project page on Let's Connect Port Colborne or our website, we would be prepared to go out to each individual business with advance notice to notify them of the project schedule. And I think the key to the success of this project is going to come down to communication between the city, public works staff, our staff in economic development and tourism, and relaying as much information that we have at the time, and getting that message out there as quickly as possible so that businesses on West Street have the time to prepare for any potential interruptions that may come as a result of the project.
Thank you, that's great. I know this has grant implications and deadlines, but if the sooner, I guess, that happens, the better. But thank you very much for that, Craig and Joe. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Elliott?
He was the nice one. Sorry. I spent all weekend and today I made a couple of calls to a couple of councillors where my mind has just been spinning on this for a couple of reasons. One, it seems like a fait accompli that this is a done deal. This is what we're doing. And we haven't even spoke to the BIA, who use this area as their means of making a living for a lot of them. And I would think that that would be our first priority. When I look at the funding, you're taking away all of the funding that was allotted to West Street streetscaping. $437,150 is now going to be allotted to this project. Whereas I know many of the BIA members were excited that West Street was going to be rehabilitated, the promenade was going to be redone, the railing was going to be redone. We're going to, beautify the street. That money's now gone. When does the beautification of West Street take place now? Now we have to go back and put together another ask for more money. That's going to be a question I'm going to face at a BIA meeting. Now what are we going to do? We were all excited about it. I guess one question. The Waterfront Center, we're taking some money out, but we're leaving $400,000 in. Could we take the almost $400,000 we're leaving in, take that out, and leave the streetscaping funding in for West Street? And I'll ask that to staff.
Mr. Bowles.
Through the mayor to the councillor, no, because that's donated funds to that project, and that has a donor agreement that the council approved.
So all of the money in the Waterfront Center is donations?
The available funds are.
Right? Okay. So I guess the question is, for me now then, when do we look at the upgrades to West Street itself? I mean, if we're not going to do it now when we already had the money in the bank, how much longer do we wait to do that? If it's our identifiable street that we're trying to bring tourism into, I would think that if you're going to do the project with lighting, why wouldn't we do the streetscaping at the same time? I'll throw that out to anybody that wants to take a stab at it. If anybody does.
Joe?
Or you could just take notes and come back.
No, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think part of this will beautify. I think new lighting and will have the opportunity to give it a facelift. I think there is going to be some concrete works as well. So we're going to look at that in preliminary design, and we will come back with, once that preliminary design is completed, I think this project will enhance the looks of that, of West Street. And there will be funds used to beautify it.
Okay. Speaking of funding, how did we come up with the split in the funding? That 3/4 of the project is on the city of Port Colborne and 1/4 of it is on CNP. How did that split take place?
Staff?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The work that's being completed by CNP, there was a couple of different options on how we can address the concerns. And this particular option included, I believe it was 500,000 of approximately 500,000 that CNP is putting out, and I think our portion was around 750. I'd have to double check the exact numbers, but that was, in staff's opinion, the best opportunity where both were contributing to the project and having those lines relocated to a different location.
Maybe just to add to the comments, and maybe it's a bit of my comment, the split looks larger, like it's a 1/3, 2/3 kind of, not closer to 50-50, because I asked for the full cost of the project to be in there, not just the cost for the technical work. As I think was mentioned by a previous council, this is about beautification, and we're going to have the new light posts, and the light posts are going to be on both sides. So when CNP and Port Colborne are looking at the cost, they're looking at the technical cost. What does it cost to bring hydro there? And the reason why the project's more expensive is because staff went through and they said in order to have the funds to do the beautification, to do the decorative lights, etc., that's how the project got more expensive. So CMPs as a percentage of the actual project work, the technical work, is a much higher percent. But what you're seeing is additional dollars for additional, well, beautification, things that go over and above a standard hydro system.
Okay. So is there any plans that have been drawn up to show exactly what we're trying to do, or wanting to do? Like, this, to me, gets dropped in our lap, and it's like, this is what we're doing. But there's no conversations, there's no plan. It says in the report that if there's any sidewalk damage, that we'll replace the sidewalk, and we'll take it out of the sidewalk budget for the city. Well, we could use up the whole sidewalk budget for the rest of the city on this project, depending on how much sidewalk needs to be replaced. And if we're replacing the sidewalk because we're doing this, do we replace all of the sidewalk on West Street for a beautification? And where do those funds come from? Because people will ask, if you fixed the part of the sidewalk when you're doing this, why didn't you do all of it and get a better price on it? So there's so many parts of the puzzle that have to go together that in this report aren't answered or aren't shown. There's no plan on what is going to happen. It's just, this is what we want to do, here's how we're going to finance it, and we're going to get going. But there's nothing tangible for me, and that's why my mind was racing, like, okay, what exactly is this going to look like? But this report comes to council, and then we're going to go out and do the legwork and talk to the BIA and get a plan and get schematics drawn up and get renderings done to show you what we're going to do. And that kind of seems a little backwards to me. That's why I'm kind of like, okay, here's the amount of money this is going to cost, but there's nothing to show us. Approve this tonight, but we're not going to show you what we're going to do. To me, that's problematic, and that's just my thoughts. So I'll have staff, anybody can have at me, be my guest.
Councillor, that is the process. Staff has no authority to go out and start things until we give them the go-ahead. This is what this is doing. We're giving council the go-ahead to start all this, to go out, talk to the BIA, talk to the businesses, talk to the chamber, get all the technical drawings, get the streetscape drawings. This allows them to move forward with it because they have no money. This is putting the money into the budget, or from the budget into this project for them to move forward, to get all that done. And as this project moves through, they'll bring those progresses to us, and they'll keep us well informed of this, like they do with a lot of projects. But that is the process. I think they don't have any money to do this, so now they need the money to do it. So
through your worship to Councillor Elliott, you make some good points. Some of the questions are a little bit explainable, though. And also to Councillor Bruno, I am sorry to hear you say that you feel like it's a fait accompli, because that's not the kind of staff reports that I want going to council. I, as CAO, don't want staff reports where you as a group feel that your decision is already made and you have to say yes. But I'm going to walk back a little bit on this one. This is sorry about my voice. This is a canal days or no canal days choice. That we were, I don't know how much I can say publicly, we were almost shut down at 2 o'clock on Friday. You know, we would have had to remove every vendor from the core to the bridge, every single one removed. And so we are dealing with an issue that is of paramount importance to staff, and we know the community and council, and the money does have to come from somewhere. I guess the money, there could be, you know, there's one option here. I guess there could be an unlimited number of options. I guess there could be a debenture. I guess we could not open the marina. I guess there's, you know, I'm being extreme now, but, and to sort of describe what I think staff is trying to give you an idea of what will be removed when they attach those images as the appendix to the staff report. These will be buried lines. It'll be, right now we have, grass, poles, wires. You're gonna have wires, grass, air. So if you actually look at the pictures and visualize, I'm particularly drawn to the ones where there's a supporting beam on an angle towards the actual pole. They're unsightly in their current stage. This has been on council's wish list, I think, and you were here and I wasn't, since the days of the CIP, CBD, Clarence Business District, CIP. And I guess to take it one step further, so, we don't have an image, we don't have construction drawings, but what you'll see is going to be a vastly improved sightline from everything that's on the west side of West towards the canal. And to Councillor Bruno's point about poles, we have decorative poles other places in the city. We have, nautical themes, we have baskets, we have things that are antique looking, and we can make sure that we keep our theme going and that what is done in high quality. I understand a step was missed here with the BIA, or was put in out of order. We can bring the BIA in on that. But the other thing I want to address is beautification of West Street. We do want to get that project back on stream. We can address it in future capital budgets, but then I would suggest, and I might not, I might choose my words carefully when speaking to a business owner, because sometimes it's hard to hear. An inordinate amount of money does get spent on West Street from our operating budget. We go down and we do concrete, usually better than base concrete. We do stamped concrete or colored concrete. We've replaced many wood walkways with concrete permanent walkways upgraded. We're bringing water and bike racks to the other side of the road so that people can get down to the businesses. And I think that staff know that this is a priority. We know that it's sort of where our bread is buttered, if you will, and we will continue to do that, everything we can do in the operating budget year after year, but we'll also make sure that, I don't want to use the word payback, like it's going to come from one pocket and go back in the other pocket of West Street. And I guess I'll defer to our treasurer here, but what money was earmarked for other future beautification somehow gets back, I'm looking to staff here, into subsequent years. I think I don't like using the word fait accompli, as I've already said once, I don't mean to repeat myself. I think that something has to be done to comply with provincial ESA regulations requirements, and then we can get back to, and I'll just refer to a few other things, the painting of the railings, that was done from operations, not capital. Muskoka chairs was done from operations, not capital. So we are trying to make sure that a lot of operating funds get directed in that area. But I do appreciate the commentary. I think if you let us take this back, staff can make sure that we reset the tree makes it a bit awkward, Joe. We reset the deck on speaking to the BIA. You, me, and Greg can maybe go down and mend some fences there and make sure that, number one, choices that are made about what infrastructure is installed, and number two, time of construction or disruption from construction is done with sensitivity towards people's businesses and with plenty of notice, if you know what I mean. So I'll stop there, Mr. Mayor. I understand I rambled a bit, but I hope that makes Councillor Elliott a bit more satisfied.
Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be negative, but it just, when I read the report, it just came on me like, we're going ahead and doing this. And, the more I read, the more I started picking it apart and thinking, there's no conversations. We went to the public for input on what they wanted to see on West Street. And that was what the funding was for. And now, there it's gone. I don't think anybody is against what this project is aiming to do. I think even the BIA is in on it. It's just, when I look at it like, 1.6 million for us and 500,000 for CNP, and it's like, it's their infrastructure, right? There's thought they were going to upgrade anyways. Okay, now you're doing it, but it's still, 2/3, 1/3, 3/4, 1/4 for us, and it's like, but it's your infrastructure that we're looking after.
and you're a for-profit company, and it looks like we're the ones picking up most of the tab to protect your infrastructure, right? We're gonna bury it, we wanna bury it, but that benefits them because it should last longer because it's not affected by the elements and stuff like that. That's what had me. But I can't impress upon staff and myself, and include me in this, to have a conversation with the BIA. It's paramount. They are coming back and want to do what's right for the city and what benefits them. And I always tell people, and I hate to use the comparison, but West Street's kind of like our Niagara Falls. It's what people come for. You know, one of the things they come for are beach and parks and stuff like that, or others, but people want to come and sit on West Street and watch the ships go by and watch the bridge go up because it's really, really cool. And yeah, we have to make it appealing to people to want to come and stay. So I just want to get it right. That's the biggest thing, just to get it right. So I apologize if I didn't mean to offend anybody, but this means a lot to me and the people in the business area downtown. So we'll take it at that.
Thanks. Councillor Botter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the CEO touched on a few things I was going to say, but in talking with Councillor Elliott on this earlier, he got me thinking on a few things, like he does once in a while. And you know, we've been doing this for so long. Some of us have been sitting here talking about burying the hydro lines for a lot of years. And I was trying to remember the steps to take, but from what I can remember is that not burying the hydro lines was always holding us up from beautifying West Street. It seemed that a lot of it was, if we don't do that, you know, it's never going to really be a finished project. So maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of what I remember. And just to touch on, and Greg, you touched on it too, but just to touch on Councilor Bruno was saying about notifying the businesses. If you lose a week of sales in August, you don't pick it up. You just lose it. You know, it's not like you're going to do twice as much in September. You're not. You just lost it. So, and I'm sure you'll get this as you meet with the businesses there, but you know, if there's a way to structure this around, I'll say, the off-season, that'll be a big deal to businesses on West Street. So I think I'll stop there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bruno?
Thank you. I think the CAO really closed the loop that I wanted to. I think when you have $500,000 in there that was going to be spent and now you're reallocating it, you have to say in the same breath and the same report when you're going to put that back in and do it. And I think that the report could have just indicated that, you know, this removes that money, but we're intending to come back in 2025's budget, done this September, to do that. And I think that would have just allayed the concerns of those. The other thing I wanted out of this is, and believe me, I'm not suggesting this, I don't know if it will work, but, you know, I don't know if like you look at street patios now and chairs that are on West Street. I mean, what I don't want to see is, you know, we redid the lighting service channel over to where the parking is on West Street, the stalls, if you will. And then come to find out that, well, you know what, we could have used a wider sidewalk on West Street in front of those merchants if we'd have dug into those stalls 2 feet and made them deeper. And so I steeled the 2 feet and put it on the sidewalk. But, you know, did we do something to the wiring in front of those stalls that now precludes that? I don't think you need the finished plan. I just want to know that everybody looked at what might we do later on with the sidewalks, and how does it affect where the service drops are for the vendors? Should it be in 2 more feet so you can make that wider? Those are the kind of things I think we just want to ensure that have been pre-thought of before we spend $2 million. That's all I had to add.
Thank you, Councilor. Further questions? Councilor Danch.
Just from a business owner's perspective there, we know we've got other problems downtown, and one of them being water and sewer. So I hope all of this is moving forward and, you know, lighting first and then hopefully some sewers and the rest of the stuff later, because I've been sitting here for 13 years. We've been talking about this downtown Clarence Street, West Street thing, and we've done very little. So I mean, I hope we move forward with this in a good way. I got.
Thanks, Councilor. Councilor Bodnar.
Just because I was looking at this in some other municipality, but, and it'll probably come out when you guys do your technical stuff, but I know they make street lights now with speakers in them. So if you're ever thinking of having Christmas music or something down that street where everybody doesn't have to play a different thing outside, now's the time to throw that on your list. Thanks.
Yeah, Wi-Fi, all that stuff. I see Joe's head nodding that they're thinking about this. Further questions then? Councillor.
Yeah, through your worship, just based on a point that Councillor Elliott made regarding, you know, it's CNP's infrastructure and the cost allocation. Can someone maybe provide a little bit of clarity as to why it is the amount that it is? Yeah.
CIO?
Sure. Through your worship, I'm just going to jump in front of my staff here because I think that I can answer that question as well as maybe touch on something that Councillor Danch and Councillor Bodnar both brought up. And then even all the way back to Councillor Elliott. When I first started working here, I'm surprised that it's been so long and I'm only a few years behind Councillor Danch, but I can see across from me that none of the staff were here. We were on the verge of when trying to get the funding for the Downtown Business District CIP, which was a massive project for Councillor Beauregard's knowledge, a massive project. Like, it was everything from the top of the trees or the top of the light poles to the water, sewer, and stormwater pipes underground. Benches, garbage cans, sidewalks, crosswalks, streets, signage, beautification everywhere. At the time, it was about $22 million for just the construction. This is 2015. There was an add-on in those reports, these council members will remember, of about $10 million to bury every single hydro line in Port Colborne, and it took the project to $32 million. So 2015 dollars, I would hazard to say that they would be much higher in 2023 and are probably getting higher every year. And I asked the same question, and Council of the Day asked the same question. And really, we had 3 options, and one option was to replace the hydro lines exactly where they are for no cost at all. There was 0. And one was to move them behind the buildings, so on Clarence Street, King Street, West Street, there would be hydro poles in sort of alleyways where they were available behind buildings, and they would take them off the street and make the street prettier, because they're unsightly, they're not decorative at all, but there was a cost, and I think it was $5 or $6 million. And to bury them entirely was $10 million, and that's why we went from 22 to 32 of the cost. And the hydro's argument or rationale, like, it would be great to say go back to hydro and get them to take on more, is the 2 options are both an upgrade to them. They only need the base option. So if we want the XL or the double XL, we had to pay the premium. And I think which I can't remember which councillor's point, they even get the benefit. They get the benefit of easier maintenance. Workers aren't working at heights anymore. The wires are protected by the ground to a certain extent. There's many benefits to CNP, but we pay 100% of the ticket. The reason I mention this is because when we do these on West Street, if this project goes forward, I should say, if we do this, it will be one component of the downtown CIP that has been done outside of doing the entire project for one $32 million check in 2015. The corner that the region did of King and Clarence is in much better condition than it was in 2015. I would say that's one chunk that's been bitten off. And I think what you're seeing, especially in the absence of one-third funding that we were familiar with 12 and 20 years ago, but there is a motion before you tonight to support from another municipality to restore that type of funding. The question that you're looking at today is, how do you eat an elephant? And I mean, it's one bite at a time. The answer is one bite at a time. We've got an elephant that's been sitting in the room waiting for us to start eating for 15 years to 2000 and, well, I guess more, less, sorry?
20 years.
20 years. We've been biting off a little bit these last few years, I think, and maybe we don't do a very good job of connecting it back to the CIP, but this is one that connects back directly. I think we can maybe revisit the vision of all of West Street after sort of taking on this project, maybe do a little bit more about hydro, see if we can go back to CNP now and say, hey, look, we've been to our council, we want to do this, we know it benefits you, can you come to the table with a better, sharpen your pencil? We can do that, I can commit to that today. I don't think we need a resolution to do that. We might be sitting at the exact same place. I think we can also talk about the downtown CIP in the new year. If we take this project out, we know we've done something here, we know we have a different vision for West Street, we know we've done a little bit of work on Clarence Street. Councillor Danch is absolutely right. We need to get underground too, but I think it's time to start eating the elephant.
Councillor?
Just off the top of my mind, based on what you're saying there, are we able to maybe see what the base would give us from the CMP, which I think is what you're saying would be we wouldn't have to pay for that, right? Because that was what. Yeah, go ahead.
Through your worship, Councilor Boger, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I think I knew where you were headed. I'd have to ask our staff here in Public Works to confirm if the base is free, but the base is apples to apples replacement. It's probably going to be those images that you see there as the attachment to the report. It's posts. I can't say that every post will have the, not sure what that little sidebar thing is called, but it's not very pretty. It's not very attractive. These are wooden posts with no cosmetic, no metal features, no decorative features. I don't know, Joe, if you want to speak. Through the mayor.
Through you, your worship. So replacing like for like would give us the exact same, so there would be no cost to us. There is another option which would leave the poles there and they would replace the poles and make it a little bit higher. That was also considered, but there would still be a significant cost to the city. And then we looked at a third option that really relocates most of those, the alignment of the hydro.
Through your worship to Councilor Bogat, I failed to mention, like to like doesn't solve the problem of ESA saying that our wires are too close to the vehicles and trailers that are vending materials on Canal Days weekend and other weekends through the year. So that is the problem we're trying to solve by the burial.
Yeah, no, I think it has to be buried. I was just wondering if there was an option where it could be buried, but it would maybe the exact location where they are now in the air buried, if it was somehow cheaper unless we had to realign it, or I don't know. I was just wondering if there's trying to get a better understanding of what our options are and if there's any cost efficiencies there with it. Because there's really, in terms of the burying, you just give, like all the report gives is essentially one price for that as to how much CMP will take. And I'm just not sure what other options, if any, involving the burying of the wires there was.
So through your worship, portions of the line will be buried. But other portions will be realigned onto Catherine Street. So it's a really large project that involves a number of different items. But I think what we have here is the best possible solution with the city and CNP working together.
So, Joe, when we're looking at these three pictures that you gave us there, at the end of the day, if you were to take pictures and we're all done, you won't see any of those poles there, is that correct?
Through your worship, that is correct. The high-powered hydro lines will be relocated.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
and any of the street light wiring will also be buried as well.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Councillor Elliott.
Just one quick question. Where's the scope of the work? Are we going from Clarence South? Or are we going to include the north side of West Street as well, all the way down?
Joe?
Through your worship, we are realigning right to north of Clarence.
Okay, so basically the entire length from, I'll say, kind of across from where Smokin' Buddha is? Where the old train bridge, kind of that area, and then all the way south?
No, south. That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Brian?
Just to help, it would go right to the tracks as you go through, just because there may be a little section afterwards, and we don't want council afterwards saying we missed those two poles, but right now it's planned right to the tracks, but obviously much more consultation to happen.
Councillor? Set?
Yeah, we're not going to take down the pole that we just put those street lights on, are we? I just thought of that when you said it.
Always repurpose it over by Frank.
I'm like, no, you can't take those lights down.
Councillor?
Through your worship, although the poles will be gone when it's buried, there'll still be transformers that will be on the ground, correct? Those green boxes? Yeah, it'd likely be one or two, I'm assuming, based on that distance.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe there will be 5 in total, and there will be also the opportunity to add additional outlets off of those underground.
Okay, all right. Anything more to add, staff? So Greg, you and Joe will give us timely updates as we move through this, just so everybody knows that with the concerns that were brought forward tonight. Gentlemen, you're fine with that? Joe? Okay. All right, hearing all that, council, any further questions? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next is 8.3, expropriation acquisition of Bridge Street, Log Street, and Park Avenue in the Central Park subdivision. The recommendations that Chief Administrative Office Report 2023-244 be received and that the Mayor and Acting Clerk be directed to sign the application for vesting order to be filed with the Land Registry Office. If I could have Councillors Bagu and Beauregard move that. Councillor Bagu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff. Let's see, who's it? Bram's the author. Under discussion, says the city plans to redevelop the park properly into a more fulsome neighborhood park, and city staff will be bringing forward these future redevelopment plans in 2024. Now, does this include the playground that we had consultants report, we had public input, we had public meetings? Are we talking about the playground, or are we talking about something else altogether?
Mr. Cotton?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bagu and to Council. Yes, that includes the replacement park and a more fulsome park that I know my colleagues will be bringing forward in 2024.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, would you have an approximate month at least in 2024 when the neighbors can expect to a park?
Or Mr. Wolzak?
Through the mayor, I'll help our business development officer out on this one. There was recently a request from an organization nearby that came to council, and they asked us to put something together. We anticipate bringing back some information on that in camera in January, which will help give a better understanding of what the timeline might be. But it's a very unique request to do some expansion work for some park, and we think council will be at least interested to hear it. So I guess just to help out, I got to sit in on that meeting, and not to speculate on what the date of construction was going to be for our Director of Public Works, but we'll, in January, I already talked to the clerk, and we're going to try to come up with an in-camera session to update council on.
I'm very happy with that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? All in favor? That's carried. .4 is the shared services update, Waynfleet and Port Colborne. Recommendation that Chief Administrative Office Report 2023-51 be received and that Council adopt the shared service principles attached to this report as Appendix A. That Council direct Port Colborne staff to continue exploring shared services opportunities with Waynfleet staff. I have Councillor Bruno and Aquilina moving that. Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Worship. Great job on this. I think it really moves it along and hopefully gives clarity for existing staffs, and hopefully Waynfleet will go along with this, and it just moves that forward. I was only concerned about one of the pillars when it said workforce levels and employee mobility, because I'm sure that's a big thing for existing staff in both municipalities. When I read, while workforce levels change from time to time, they should not change as a result of shared services. So my concern was that one of the things besides efficiency of cost for the existing workload in employees doing it, where work can be shared, is that I didn't want this to box see it, and maybe the CA could square this. So if all of a sudden there's a new, we need, I don't know, like the climate change issue, right? All of a sudden we had to have a person for it, but maybe we only needed a half a person. So that's an advantage of shared services, and it does change the staffing level, but it actually changes it, but we still get a benefit because we're not paying for the time of a whole new employee when we don't need it. So I'm just wondering, I just want that to be misconstrued in there by any staff member, that one of the things about flexibility, adaptability, and efficiency is if you need more, this also works in our favor potentially.
CAO?
Through your worship to Councillor Bruno, this is a great question, and it's one of the fundamentals, I guess, that shared services is built on. This, I'm going to choose my words a little bit carefully, because I think that this is something that people could be sensitive about, people who work at this organization or the other, or any municipal organization. The idea of shared services was to maximize the effective and efficient delivery of municipal services to taxpayers. And I guess it's not designed to say, hey, you're our neighbor and you have one employee and we have one employee, and together we could kick one to the curb and save a bunch of money, because that's not how we live to our values and treat people. So it was never that. Now we do, I have to be fair, we do analyze work levels from time to time, and if it takes, I'm going to use extreme examples here, 6 people to operate the beach, and we have 7, we don't pay that 7th person to sit idle. We might move them to a different department or reduce everyone's hours so that they're all working, if they're part-time employees, they're all getting some hours in a pay period and so on. But I think where the rubber really hits the road, and the example that you're talking about, is if a position was created of necessity, say a legislative change, say the province made changes to lottery licensing. We have a lottery license officer, Waynfleet has a lottery license officer. If we needed 70% of another lottery licensing officer and they needed 30% of another one due to this regulatory change, instead of us having 2 and them having 2, and both of us having too much capacity or being overstaffed, we could hire this 3rd person and split the salaries 70-30, and split the hours 70-30, and make sure that the service is delivered the way that the province has required us to, without, I guess, by maintaining the principle of effectiveness and efficiency, and not reducing workforce levels because of shared services, if that makes sense. Okay.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor? That's carried. Item 9.1, or sorry, item 9.2. Yeah, 9.2, 9.1's not being pulled. 9.2, I asked for this to be pulled, and if I could have Councillors Elliott and Bodnar, as opposed to support, or receiving this for information purpose only, that we support it. And if I could read this here, it's from the municipality of Tweed. It says, whereas municipalities are facing ever-increasing demands for services along with demands for repairs, maintenance, and replacement of existing infrastructure to the detriment of the tax-paying public they serve as the cost of living continues to rise through the country. And whereas the federal and provincial governments in the past contributed through partnerships to fund projects that have been out of the financial reach of small municipalities. And whereas these one-third funding agreements have been instrumental in allowing municipalities to adequately plan and execute projects to protect the aging infrastructure already in place. And whereas the municipality of Tweed, in this case we should put Port Colborne, has successfully completed, actually that one doesn't count for us, and whereas it is incumbent upon our federal and provincial governments to assist municipalities with limited access to funding except through municipal taxes to reestablish this very important funding stream, now therefore be resolved that Council lobby the relevant federal and provincial representatives to bring these concerns to the forefront. It does go on to say about them making a delegation to Roma, which is the Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference, that they copy their local MPs and MPPs. We continue to make delegations to both FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Ontario or Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO. Good Roads is the third one. So as council and staff go to those conferences, we do talk to different levels of government. FCM is a little bit different. You don't actually meet with MPs at that one. But there are other government departments and officials there that we do talk to, and we do lobby. And one thing that a lot of mayors talk about is the one-third funding. And it goes back to previous mayors, and especially Mayor Bodnar. The one-third funding agreement was the best thing. And why now different stripes of government have gotten away from it, where we actually compete with each other to get this money. It worked way better before, so I'm glad Tweed brought this out. It is a consistent message that's getting out from municipalities across, not only Ontario, but across the country. So if we could support this, also send this to our MPs and MPPs within Niagara, and then as we continue to attend conferences, that we will take that, that lobby forward with regards to our meetings with government officials. Questions? Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. I appreciate that. Wow. Consideration. There are no motions. Are there any notices of motion, Council? Seeing no notices of motion, there are no minutes of boards and committees. We have two bylaws this evening. Bylaw 1 and 2. You want to use 2 or 3? Bylaw 20.2 and 20.3. If I could have Councillors Danch and Hoyle move those. Questions to the bylaws? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So there are no procedural motions, there's no information items. So before we adjourn, again, I would really like to thank McKay Choir for coming this evening, singing "O Canada" and the carols. That was phenomenal. Unbelievable talent. The guitar playing, the drum playing, the singing. We really got to thank their teachers, or teacher, but their educators for really putting in a lot of work and practice, I'm sure, with these young kids, because they were, again, phenomenal. And again, on behalf of council, thank everyone for a fantastic 2023 as we move into 2024. 2024, we wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a joyous New Year. Please stay safe out there, and we'll see you in January. Thank you. We are adjourned.